One of the purposes of object-oriented design patterns is to hide complex operations inside classes and then only expose the results without showing how the work is being done. One of the tools that Visual Basic provides for this purpose is a read-only property, a property that can be set from within the class but then only read from outside it. I'll show how to create a read-only property and then complete this exercise by moving all of the complex functionality of doing calculations into my calculation utility class. I'm working in the read-only solution, and I'll start in the calcutility.vb file. Currently, I have the four functions, add values, subtract values, and so on, which are returning values directly from the functions. I'm going to change this code so that instead of returning values, they're simply setting a value. I'll add a new private field that I'll call result with an underscore prefix, and as with the other fields, I'll set the data type to double. Next, I'll declare a property named result, once again data typed as double. And as before, I'll add the end property clause. Now I'm going to mark the property as read-only. I'll add the keyword read-only before the property keyword. After I've added it, I see a little squiggly line telling me that there is an error. So I'll pull down the list of available fixes and see that Visual Studio is offering to insert a missing get method. When you mark a property as read-only, you must have a getter method. So I'll click that option, and that creates my get and end get keywords, and I'll add the code return_result. So now the class has a result property, and here's what I'm going to do with it. I'll go down to all the functions at the bottom, add values, subtract values, multiply, and divide, and I'm going to change them from functions into subroutines. I'll select that much code, then I'll select Edit, Find and Replace, Quick Replace. I'll look for the word function and change it to sub, and I'll click on Replace All. Next, I'll look for all of the return statements in this section, and I'll change them to _result equals, and now instead of returning a value from the function, I'm simply using a subroutine and setting the private field value. I'll make that change to all four operations. So far, so good. I now have a read-only property named result that can be read by the calling scope, and it's returning the value of the private field, which in turn is being set by these subroutines. Now I'll make some fixes to my main window code. In the select case operation, I'm looking at each of the possible values for the operation, add, subtract, and so on, and calling the appropriate procedure. But right now, I'm expecting the procedure to return a value, and it doesn't anymore. So I'm going to change this code to simply call the procedure, but not expect a return value. Next, I'll take this conditional code that's in the divide section, and I'm going to move it outside of the select case statement. And now, instead of referring to a local variable called result, which is currently declared here, I'm going to be referring to the result property of the utility class. So I'll get rid of that declaration and then go down to the conditional code where I'm looking at the result and change it to calc.result, looking at the result property of the instance of the utility class. And I'll do the same thing in the call to display result. I'll get out of full screen mode and look for any errors. In the utility class, when I changed these functions to subroutines, I neglected to take off the declaration of the return values. So I'll get rid of those, removing the as double clause from the end of each declaration. To completely test the application, I'll build it, see that I don't have any errors, and I'm ready to test again. I'll run the application, type in some values, and test all four operations, and see that they all still work. So this is just a different coding style. Instead of using functions that return values within my utility class, I'm exposing the returned value as a read-only property. I don't think there's any particular advantage of this approach over the other one. They're both available in Visual Basic as coding styles for object-oriented programming. But the important thing here is that you're able to declare these read-only properties and make them available for reading in the rest of your application. but reserve the ability to write these values only from within the current class.